was like 2 weeks after they had passed, I was getting these nightmares or dreams, however you want to look at it. And in those dreams, I was seeing my best friend in those dreams all the time. It at some point it wasn't comforting anymore because it was almost like I'm seeing someone that I'm not going to see in person anymore. So I really, really struggled with that. And long story pretty short, I was emotionally I was a wreck. This happened in the summer just before I was about to start my second year of college. So, and it impacted that year as well quite significantly. And I remember I was just crying constantly at home, crying constantly. The only bit of peace that I got was that it brought all of my school friends back together again, in that we would meet regularly. Like, we would meet almost every night after they passed for like weeks. It did become unhealthy eventually because people were then using it as an excuse to then say, we're going to start drinking or we're going to start bunning on behalf of the person that had passed.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like that because my friend wouldn't have wanted us to come here and then say we're doing
For that.
in his name.
Yeah.
In his name, sorry. So, one day in particular, someone in my family, a member of my family, came into my room and said, like, what's the matter? Like, what's going on? And I was clearly like distraught. I was still crying. This might have been a few weeks after it happened. And I said to him, I was like, listen, I'm still struggling. Like, I'm just so sad. I'm so depressed. Like, I can't stop crying. And their reaction was, this happened 2 weeks ago. People die. You need to get over it. Like, if it's that bad, why don't you go and meet them? That was the response.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, and prior to that moment, I wasn't close at all with this member of my family. As in, we did not have a good relationship.
At that point, that person's definitely an op.
So when I heard that, I couldn't be angry because it wasn't like, we was talking about trust.
Yeah.
I wasn't trusting him necessarily, like, with like some very deep information.
Anyway.
I was just saying it, like, but his reaction at that moment in time,
that floors someone.
Yeah,
It floors someone.
It's hard to explain because I wasn't close with him. It wasn't like I was like, oh, you've just broken my heart.
But
it
at the
was
same,
like,
it's disappointment.
it
Never
was
to
just,
do
it
it
was a
again.
level of disappointment I can't ever explain. And so what it did is it caused me to never speak about that situation in public or with anybody in that same detail ever, not ever again, but like for a very, very,
very long time. Yeah.
It led to me putting tattoos on my body because that was my way of dealing with the grief of that. Meeting with my boys every single day, it wasn't like we was having in-depth conversations that was maybe therapeutic for any of us. A lot of toxic things were happening in those moments. So it's not even like even when we were together, we were really opening up about
And actually
something.
supporting each other through the situation.
It
Toxic.
was just a toxic environment. And there was some good that come out from it in terms of us being together.
Yeah.
And there's many people I don't think I'd be as close with now if it wasn't for the fact that when they had passed, it brought lots of people together.
Back together, yeah.
But in terms of the opening up aspect of it, I couldn't talk about it. And so what happened was when I did start talking about it in small doses with my partner, every time I was about to talk about it, I'd choke up. And because I could feel the emotion bubbling up inside of me, I'd stop. I couldn't do it. I'd well up every single time. And I always felt that the only reason why... the thing is with death, it's a very difficult thing to talk about because nobody ever gets over someone passing that's close to them.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're able to manage it better if you're in an environment that allows you to just grieve how you need to grieve. If you're supported in that, there's different things that can allow someone to maybe move on in a positive way after they've lost someone. But I didn't have that. So every time I spoke about that particular moment, which was quite a traumatic thing because it wasn't just one friend. I lost 3 friends in one accident and one friend never learned to speak or talk again. I never wanted to talk about it in public without welling up. And that was the damage that one moment